Will my peers finally get it right? We'll find out this week on Motoring 99.
TSN's Motoring 99 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them. And Midas Car Care, the way it should be.
12 years ago, the population of Alliston, Ontario was about 4,300. Then the Honda Motor Corporation moved into town, built this plant, hired a few thousand people, and today Alliston's population has nearly doubled. Hello everybody, and welcome to our annual Car of the Year special. Behind me, the brand new Honda Odyssey is coming off the line, and we'll tell you more about that later on. But joining me as usual is the man behind the wheel on test drive each week, Graham Fletcher. And Graham, as usual, we've got lots of new models this year, but not a lot of excitement.
No, there hasn't. You know, unless you're in the market for a minivan or an SUV, the market has been kind of flat. But anyway, now to business. As usual, we've got 9 categories with 3 finalists in each, except for the SUV where we've got 4. We'll explain that later. But first off, let's get to family sedans. Now we've split this into 2 categories, those above $25,000 and those below. Hyundai have come a long way in a very short time, and nowhere is it more aptly demonstrated than with the new Sonata. It's sleek, refined and an undeniable bargain. A few extra dollars gets you a V6 worthy of a test drive, even if you're looking at the likes of a Honda or Toyota. The Protégé has always been a sleeper. If value for money and quality are top of your shopping list, this is the car for you. While the base 1.6 litre motor performs well, it's the 1.8 offered in the LX that really shines. Toyota's Corolla is to some the equivalent of a bread and water diet. While it may have been true of the previous car, the new model is anything but. It delivers peppy performance, a spacious interior and Toyota's legendary quality, all of which combines to make the new Corolla our best new family sedan under $25,000. Chrysler, soon to become Daimler Chrysler, have produced some of the best looking automobiles offered anywhere regardless of price. The new Concorde reaffirms this ability. To go with the good looks are a decent engine and acres of interior space. Oldsmobile's intrigue was good enough to win last year's Car of the Year award. For $99, GM has sweetened the pot by adding a 6-cylinder version of Cadillac's Northstar engine. For the dollar, this car is streets ahead of the competition. All, that is, except the new Jetta. While the base 4-banger is not worth a second look, the VR6 most certainly is, and so it gets our best new family sedan over $25,000.
Well, I'll tell you, that Corolla is in the under $25,000 column, but it sure drives like a more expensive vehicle. But how about the Jetta?
Well, you know, the Jetta, there's one thing I must explain. You have to go with the VR6 model. The 4-banger is a complete and utter waste of time. That drives it above $25,000, but I'll tell you, it's worth every cent.
All right, now let's check out our nominees for Performance Car of the Year.
The original Z3 was a real yawner. Then came a 6-cylinder engine, which added a degree of spice. For 1998, BMW launched the M version of this cuddly roadster. 240 horsepower, great looks and wonderful driving dynamics make it one sweet ride. The new Porsche 911 is a worthy successor to the original car. It delivers power, a decent suspension and at last an inviting interior. The trouble is, it's too pricey. This left the door wide open for Chevrolet's new hardtop Corvette, this year's Performance Car of the Year. This car is proof that there really is no substitute for cubic inches. Fast, fun and surprisingly comfortable lead the long list of endearing features. The Bimmer and the Boxster are both wonderful cars, but when you talk bang for the buck, there's nothing as good as the Chevrolet Corvette.
Graham, I couldn't agree with you more. We've got to take a break. We'll be back as we continue with our Car of the Year special from the Honda plant in Alliston, Ontario.
About 10 years ago, I was in Japan driving the then-new Acura Legend sedan for the Toronto Star wheel section. I got a chance to interview Nobuhiko Kawamoto, then the Executive Vice President of Honda, subsequently its President. Now, he had said that Honda's policy was to build cars in the markets where they sell them, provided cost and quality were competitive. Well, they sure didn't build as many cars in Alliston as they sold in Canada, so I tried to nail him by getting in the back door. I first asked him if Alliston was Honda's lowest cost plant. He said that, well, probably Britain was cheaper because the pound was in even worse shape than the dollar, but Alliston was no worse than second. I then was going to ask him if Alliston's quality was competitive. Well, this was a trick question because he couldn't really say otherwise because there's only one level of Honda quality. Then I was going to nail him, well, cost and quality are competitive, why don't you build more cars there? But he totally disarmed me by saying, well, actually, Alliston's quality was better than Japan. I was stunned for a Japanese to admit that somebody else could build cars better than they could. So I said, excuse me? Well, he started to backtrack a little bit, saying that it's a brand new plant with the newest technology. They only build one model and it's a low line rate, but he confirmed that yes, indeed, Alliston built the best Civics of anybody in the world. Well, I phoned the Toronto Star's editorial desk and said, this is a real scoop. Well, they sent a reporter up to talk to the plant management up there and told them that head office had said, you guys build the best Civics anywhere in the world. And they said, we do? Apparently head office didn't feel the need to tell them that they were doing such a great job. Just carry on, you're doing fine. Well, at least I hope that's how it really happened because it sure makes a better story that way.
This represents Honda's only minivan manufacturing plant in the world. We started mass production August 20th of this year. We're now at full mass production, 250 units a day on a one-shift basis. We'll be putting a second shift on next year, which will take us to 500 units a day. This represents Honda's fastest ramp-up from startup to mass production, 87 days to full mass production on one-shift basis.
You know, there is a rumor that Honda has plans to build a sport utility larger than the CR-V in this very plant. Of course, nobody is confirming it, but when we find out, you'll be the first to know. All right, now let's check out our nominees for Luxury Car of 1999.
As with the Concorde, Chrysler's new 300M is a stunning looking car. It's also big without feeling ponderous, comfortable without feeling too much like an armchair, and sporty enough to make it a real blast to drive. Cadillac Seville has always been looked upon as somewhat of an old fuddy-duddy's car. Not anymore. It delivers crisp lines, a sumptuous interior, and one of the best V8 engines offered. However, it's Saab's new 9.5 that beats the bunch to the line as our best new luxury car. Not only does it depart from the quirkiness that was Saab's hallmark, it has elegant style and a new 3-litre turbocharged V6 that delivers the performance missing in previous generations. No question, the 9.5 is the class act of that category. However, as with the Jetta, if you go with the Saab 9.5, make sure you go with the V6 engine. Let's now check out the nominees for our best new sport ute of 99. The Grand Cherokee brings with it the first new motor from Chrysler in 30 years. Add to that the sophisticated quadra-drive all-wheel drive system and you have a vehicle that represents a quantum leap over the vehicle it replaces. Land Rover have been in a malaise for a number of years. However, the release of the Series 2 Discovery and its active cornering enhancement suspension signals a new benchmark for SUVs when it comes to handling. It all but eliminates body roll on-road, yet enhances the Disco's off-road ability. A rare feat indeed. Mercedes continues its product offensive with the launch of the ML430, a V8 version of the 320 that's been selling like hotcakes. The larger engine brings with it the power the ML cried out from right from the word go. Suzuki founded the mini ute market donkeys years ago. However, they were unable to parlay that into retail sales. The new Grand Vitara should change things. It's the only Mini to be offered with a V6, a low-range gear set and real off-road ability. 4 nominees and 2 winners. Now the Grand Cherokee is without question the class act, but not everybody can afford $50,000. And so we also named the Grand Vitara as joint SUV winner, primarily because of its very sweet V6.
Well, our next category, and to me the most sensible vehicle for anybody who wants storage and a little luxury thrown in, and that is the minivan.
The first Windstar was the victim of the bean counters as they underestimated the importance of a 4th door, and as such missed a large chunk of the market. The 99 edition suffers no such malady. It delivers the 4th door and the 5-seater configuration missing from the original. The Quest was one of the most entertaining minivans offered. It delivered the practicality as well as some semblance of a sporty nature. The new van represents a regressive move for Nissan. They've made it more ponderous than the original without increasing the usable space. This leaves Honda's Odyssey, a van that sets a new benchmark for the rest to aim at. It has power without being a pig on gas, and it has versatility without the need to be an engineer to take advantage of it. In short, it was the only real contender for our best new minivan of the year.
When Honda introduced the Acura Vigor, at last we had proof that not even Honda gets it right all the time. Now, it's one of the few mistakes they've ever made. A couple of years later, Honda Canada noticed that the Acura franchise was in trouble, and not just because of the Vigor. You see, in the States, the larger, pricier Legend has always been the top-selling Acura, but in Canada, it's always been an Integra franchise. But the Japanese-built Integra was creeping up in price, becoming uncompetitive as a compact sedan. And if the price didn't scare the customers off, the beady-eyed front end sure as heck did. So Honda Canada conceived of a plan to build a car in and exclusively for the Canadian market. What they do is essentially take a Civic sedan, dip it in gold, and sell it as an Acura at a competitive price. Well, I don't know which part of this story is more impressive. The fact that Honda North America and subsequently Honda Japan let the Canadians build this car exclusively for one small market, total projected sales of about 8,000 units, or the fact that Honda Canada, led by Jim Miller, had the courage to ask permission. Well, to everybody's credit, they did build the car, the Acura 1.6 EL. It was and remains a pretty good little car. So what if it is a gussied up Civic? How bad an idea could that be? It gets the 127 horsepower VTEC engine, which you can't get in a Civic sedan. It's got all the luxury touches that Acura customers like to have, and apparently they enjoy shopping in an Acura showroom as opposed to a Honda store. Now the car sold out almost immediately, production was increased, and remains a strong seller for Honda Canada. Don't you just love good news stories?
A portion of Motoring 99's Car of the Year special is brought to you by Midas Car Care, who each week bring you the Midas Tip.
We're back at the Honda plant in Alliston, Ontario, the exclusive home for the Honda Odyssey for North America. But it's now time to head to the garage and join a man I know would love to be here, and that's Bill Gardner. Bill?
Brad, you're absolutely right. You know, I'd love to do a tour of that Honda plant in Alliston. You know, my own car, that 91 Civic Si that you see in the background, was built at that plant in Alliston. I haven't had a moment's trouble with that car. But you know, when I think of the Honda Motor Company, the first thing that comes to my mind is their motorcycles. I've had a half a dozen of them, and you know, my very first motorized piece of machinery was a Honda motorcycle. I wanted to buy one of those mini bikes that they were building in the mid to late 60s in the worst way. One of those ones that had the lawnmower engine. Now, Honda never built those. My dad wouldn't let me buy one of those chintzy ones. He took me down to the Honda dealership and showed me the 50cc Mini Trail, which was like looking at an F-18 beside a Wright Brothers biplane. It was just the class act of those mini bikes. But it set me back a year trying to save up the difference in the price between the chintzy one and the Honda, and I never forgave him for it, at least not for a couple years, until I figured out that he was right about buying decent machinery. Now, half a dozen Honda bikes later, I'm still riding one of their bikes, a 500cc dirt bike, and you know something, their motorcycles literally turned the motorcycle industry upside down and caused everybody else to have to improve their motorcycles to keep up with them. They were a class act right from the get-go. You never had any trouble with their machinery. But you know, their first cars, you couldn't say that about them. The bodies absolutely fell apart. But it wasn't long before they fixed that and caused the rest of the car industry to have to play catch-up to keep up with their build quality. I think they're probably one of the premier engine manufacturers in the world today. In any case, though, you know, when I think about Car of the Year, I got to admit that I'm really not passionate about anybody's cars. sport utilities or minivans. They really don't do a whole lot for me. I love pickup trucks, as I'm sure you all know by now, and pure forms of machinery, things like this motorcycle. But you know something? My pickup truck's 10 years old and I'm starting to see a couple little rust holes, so I'm probably going to be down looking at my car of the year, which would be the 99 Chevy Silverado pickup truck. I love the look of them. I love everything they've done with them. And you know something? I dream about getting one until I walk around to the passenger side window at the dealership and see that white sheet of paper and I get to the bottom right corner and see those numbers. I'm so stingy, I get right back to the shop and fix my 10-year-old piece of machinery and I'll keep it going, and I'll probably buy a 99 in about 2009. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 99.
Look at this little puppy, isn't she cute? That's the original Honda Civic, introduced in 1973, although this is a perfectly restored 1977 model. Now this car was a breakthrough, not from a design or engineering perspective. It was really nothing more than an Austin 1100 10 years later, except it didn't leak oil or blow up. But this was an environmentally friendly car long before that became an industry catchword. Why? Because it was biodegradable, particularly the front fenders. You could drive this thing home and watch the paint peel and the steel turn into lacework in front of your very eyes. Honda simply hadn't counted on our Canadian winters. But Honda Canada turned that negative into a positive by offering to fix the cars for free. They even had their employees stick their business cards under the windshield wipers of cars they saw on the streets, encouraging customers to bring them back to the dealership for the free repairs. They even put the adjustment desks in the showroom rather than hiding them in the service department, so new customers could see that Honda really stands behind their products. And it worked. Civic became a bestseller, in fact, the best-selling car in the country this year. Honda also had another marketing ploy, the Honda Michelin Racing Series. The sight of 50 or more of these cars careening around racetracks across the country was more excitement than most motorsport fans could stand. Particularly when it was the supporting event for the Formula One Grand Prix, it was invariably the best race of the weekend. It also had the advantage of giving Honda something of a sporting image, particularly in Quebec, where the series originated. Oddly enough, in the rest of the world, Honda has something of an old man's image. So what do you think, Honda Canada? Don't you think a showroom stock series for these cars still makes an awful lot of sense? Just want you to know that I'm ready when you are.
Still to come, our overall car of the year. But before that, we go to my favourite category, and that, the best sports coupe of '99. Mazda's second generation Miata comes with the same fun-to-drive quotient as the original, but it's dumped the ugly pop-up headlights and added a rear glass window. Now these are both moves for the better. Ford has been asleep at the switch for the last few years. However, the launch of the new Cougar signals that the giant is finally reawakening. Cougar delivers style and performance in a practical hatchback that's a blast to drive. What more can you say about the new Beetle other than it's ugly, underpowered and aimed at the wieners lusting after nostalgia? That said, it does have its redeeming qualities. It handles well, drives well, and comes with a true head-turning ability. I know you're suffering from a bad bout of Beatlemania, but I couldn't pass up the Cougar and its hatchback versatility.
We'll talk more about that Beetle later on, Mr. Fletcher. But you know, along with the sport utility market, maybe the hottest market right now is performance sedan. Let's check out our nominees.
Acura have hardly distinguished themselves in the past with the less than vigorous Vigor or the first generation TL. However, the new car is everything the others were not. It has a sporty feel, above average dynamic qualities and an engine par excellence. Volvo's boring and boxy image started to wane with the introduction of the C70. This new philosophy continues with the all-new S80. It brings good looks, a great engine and more safety than just about anything else offered. Rounding out our best new sports sedan category is the new BMW 3 Series. As always, it delivers dynamic performance and exceptional comfort. The drawback is that it's just more of the same old, same old. As a result, Acura picks up the best new sports sedan for their finest car since the NSX.
Boring, boring, boring. For me, I take the Volvo S80 T6 any day.
Yeah, right. 225 horsepower boring? I don't think so. At 35 grand, I'll have my car paid for and you'll be still shelling out for your Volvo.
But I'll be having lots of fun, and isn't that what performance is all about? All right, we're going to check out our nominees for the best-selling vehicle year in and year out in North America, and that, of course, is the pickup truck. We already know what Bill's pick is. Let's check out the nominees.
Nissan replaced their aging pickup with the Frontier last year. This year they added the long-awaited V6 version. This motor transforms the way the truck feels. Out goes the lethargic, in comes a sporty compact offering that will have an impact on the market. Ford's new Super Duty pickup is a brute in the very best sense of the word. It's big, will tow a large house and has more road presence than any pickup rightly deserves. Sadly, it's also very thirsty, especially when you go with the monstrous V10 motor. GM's new Sierra and Silverado arrive with a stronger backbone, a choice of engines, most of which are based on the Corvette's motor, and a level of comfort and convenience unprecedented in a workhorse. As a result, it walks away with motoring's best new pickup.
Well, I know Bill Gardner is smiling right now, and you know, Graham, General Motors resisted the temptation to restyle their entire pickup line, and they did it successfully.
Absolutely. I mean, when was the last time you saw a workhorse with lipstick on? And I think that's the point Dodge missed.
I don't know where we found this guy. Stay with us, a lot more to come as Motoring 99's Car of the Year special continues from Alliston, Ontario. It's now that moment we've all been waiting for, and we select our overall car, minivan, or truck of the year for 1999. But first, let's head to the dealership and join Jim once again for his pick.
Well, Brad, there's a lot of great new vehicles this year. I'm surrounded by Hondas, of course, and that new Odyssey minivan's pretty slick. Acura's got that great TL sedan. Chevy's got that fabulous Silverado pickup truck, and of course, the Jeep Grand Cherokee's got to be a contender. But every once in a while, a vehicle comes along that changes the face of the industry. Maybe not from an engineering perspective, but it just makes everything else look old-fashioned. This year, we have one of those, so the car of the year has to be the Volkswagen new Beetle.
The Volkswagen Beetle, huh? How about it, Graham?
Right manufacturer, wrong car. For 1999, our car of the year is none other than the Volkswagen Jetta when equipped with the VR6 engine.
I love the vehicle, but this year I have to break ranks and go with Jim. Without a doubt, it's the Beetle. I mean, the Beetle single-handedly captured everybody's imagination. He created maybe the only excitement in this model year. And you know, you gotta hand it to Volkswagen. With the Beetle, the Golf, the Passat, and the Jetta, they have one of their strongest lineups in years. Well, that's it. We're all out of time. We'll see you next time out for more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
TSN's Motoring 99 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them, and Midas Car Care, the way it should be.